Progressive Snapshot can save you money based on how you drive and how much you drive. So the safer you drive, the more money you could save. Now, if you didn't hear that because you were yelling at another car while driving, let me say it again. You need to calm down. Yelling is just making everyone as stressed out as you are and letting them all know that you definitely aren't trying to save with Progressive Snapshot. And if you did hear it the first time because you weren't yelling at another car, nice work. You'd love Snapshot from Progressive because it rewards safe drivers. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California and North Carolina or from all agents.
Do you have a water leak and can't find where it's coming from? Are you dealing with water or mold damage in your home or business? Then call Water Cleanup of Florida at 954-579-0356 for immediate assistance. With over 60 years of combined experience, Michael, Robert, and their team is prepared to handle all types of leak detection issues, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. After the leak has been located and repaired, Water Cleanup of Florida will then clean, dry, and fully restore the damaged areas. Water Cleanup of Florida is fully licensed, insured, and certified to provide the one-stop shopping that busy homeowners and business owners require. There is no need to bring in other contractors. They will handle the entire project from start to finish. Service areas include Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. Call Michael anytime on his personal cell phone at 954-579-0356. That's 954-579-0356, or visit their website at wcufl.com. Water Cleanup of Florida. If you have the schmutz, they have the guts.
Chris and the guys at Greenview Construction LLC are a firm offering professional services in design and, of course, construction. And they are proud to announce that they've completed design and 3D renderings for 2 spec home models located in the Jupiter and Palm Beach Gardens area, sitting on over 1 acre lots. Now, they've got 4 lots available for these model homes. The first is a British West Indies model style, totaling just over 4,500 square foot, air-conditioned space, 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, and they boast 16-foot ceilings in some areas. The second, more traditional style home, 3,100 square foot, air-conditioned space, 4 bedrooms and 4 baths. They boast 14-foot ceilings in some areas. Both models will have a free-flowing layouts that connect the kitchen, the family room, living room, library, a den, and outdoor lanai, and both models will have an option to add a detached in-law suite if you really want the in-laws to move in, and a garage totaling an additional 1,000 square foot. You can visit Chris and the team online at www.greenviewconstruction.com. You can email Chris Tyson, that's C Tyson as in Mike Tyson, C Tyson at greenviewconstruction.com, or you can call 561-727-5013. They're also on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter. Just look for Greenview Construction. And if that wasn't enough, they have an appointment-only showroom at 715 Commerce Way West, Suite 14 in Jupiter, Florida.
This show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a revolutionary new daily fantasy game whereby you pick 2, 3, or 4 players to go over or under their fantasy point projections, and if you're correct, you win. Pick 2 or more players from the same sport or league, or go cross leagues for your parlay. Use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, 5, and receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. But first, sign up at prizepicks.com to start winning today.
Welcome to 3 Yards Per Carry, a podcast covering the Miami Dolphins and the NFL. Now, here's your hosts, Chris, Alf, and Simon.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team.
And we're on, and welcome to a victorious edition of 3 Yards Per Carry. I'm Alfredo Artiaga, Sam Clancy is here, Chris Kaufman is here, and as always, we're brought to you by Manscape. Use the promo code 5RSN and get 20% off your entire order. Well, I guess we'll start there. We're talking about Manscape, and Manscape, for lack of a better word, you got to shave your balls. These guys evidently got here on Tuesday because, the heat was going to be too much for the Patriots, right? So Bill Belichick decided to outsmart himself, brought these guys down here on Tuesday. Maybe they just use some Manscaped products, and they would have not needed to come down here on Tuesday because they looked swamped. They looked dead in the water. Past the first drive. Are you aware, Simon, and I guess I'll kick it to you right away with your impressions of this game. Are you aware that they crossed the 40-yard line, the Dolphins' 40-yard line twice the entire game? And they ran 3 plays past the 40-yard line?
I was aware. I saw that earlier. So, yeah, I was aware of that fact.
Yeah, so I'll start there. What did you think of this game? Was it as dominant as it looked, or were there any things to nitpick in your opinion?
Oh, I think there was lots to nitpick at. I mean, yeah, it's great. Dolphins are 1-0. But there were, lots of, I came away with lots of issues, lots of things that needed cleaning up. I thought around the league, actually. I think it was indicative of teams not really playing pre-season, missed tackles, a lot of rust out there for everybody. I thought it was a lot the Dolphins could have done better offensively, defensively. I didn't like their run splits, for example, their run fits, for example. Sorry, I didn't like how we were sort of being gashed early in the run game. I didn't like the fact that the Patriots were able to move the ball really consistently early on in the game, and kind of got bailed out by the Howard the tip where he could have easily been called for pass interference. So yeah, I think the quarterback has some issues that well discussed that we talked about on OnlyFins. But overall, a win is a win, and Mike McDaniel gets a win. I like some of his play calling. I love the bunch fits and the stacks and all those things, the misdirection and the Cedric Wilson sort of playing that sort of CFL type. Sorry, one of the batter in the Tampa Bay Toronto game has just let go of his bat and it's just gone in the crowd, which I thought was quite amusing.
I don't think it's amusing for whoever got hit by that bat, though.
No. To be fair, some guy literally caught it like he was in the outfield. Everybody stood up and clapped, which is pretty impressive.
I'm pretty sure the crowd's letting him have it as like that's a boss move, catching the bat as it comes flying at you.
Absolutely, that's what he did. What a hero! That's why my attention was slightly diverted. But the switch releases, all of those things. So I was really impressed in that kind of stylistically in how it looked. I thought there were a number of plays that were left on the field, which I think bodes well actually for going forwards. I still have a number of questions about the quarterback and whether he's the guy, and we need those answering sooner rather than later. But I also thought there were some good plays, some good throws. The touchdown was a really good play, good throw. There were a number of plays that I liked in terms of what he did. There were a number of plays I didn't like, and he didn't answer the key questions that I wanted answered in terms of his development. But overall, the Dolphins comfortably didn't really get out of third gear and beat New England 20-7 at home. A win is a win, 1-0. But those mistakes are going to need to be cleaned up against what looks like a good Baltimore team next week on the road.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of things not to like, but I did pick them to win 31-19, and that's 12 points. They won by 13, so I can't complain too much. Like, because people were asking me today, I thought you wanted style points, and in my opinion, winning by 13 is style points. It's one more point than what I predicted them to win by. So Chris, what did you think of this game? Twitter, I know you don't give a crap about what Twitter thinks because you had a very good thread today talking about a few of the plays that people were taking issues with, and we still don't know. This is going to be like the Zapruder film. I think we'll be watching it for 40 years. We don't know if that ball got tipped, but if it did get tipped, it probably stopped what would have been a very long touchdown to stop the game because, my God, was he wide open. And I did finally see the all 22 of that one play, which is the first play of the game. And sure enough, it's basically cover 6. They're all under. And whoever's on that side, and I think is Jonathan Jones, completely blows his coverage. Like, he has to get deeper. And they let Tyreek Hill just stand there wide open.
Well, it was a cascade of failures on that particular play, and not on Miami's part. I mean, on New England, this was clearly a broken coverage, right? Yeah. By New England. I mean, Tyreek Hill doesn't end up that wide open. You know who Tyreek Hill is, right? I mean, yeah. So he doesn't end up that wide open without like a whole cascade of failures. But it actually started with the botched snap by Connor Williams, the center, and that's obviously something that they're going to have to. It showed up in camp. It showed up in preseason. It showed up on the very first play of the very first game. It's kind of setting a bad precedent.
I think it's tradition. Inauspicious.
It's inauspicious, I would say, going forward, considering this has been a going issue for him. So clearly, that's one of the major concerns going forward, because this is a very timing, rhythm-based offense, and you just can't have that. But it actually started with that, because when that happens, I think there are players on the defense Particularly, I think it was Adrian Phillips who went out to the sidelines to cover Alec Ingold in the flat. Well, he was real late doing that. I mean, he bit up, and then kind of pulled like a total O. That give some credit to Mike McDaniel. He had Ingold in motion before the snap, and so I think he just kind of realized very late, and partly distracted by defensive players go crazy. The ball's out. The ball's out and it's in jeopardy somewhere. They go nuts. He realized much too late that Alec Ingold was going out to the flat. And then he tried to get back out there to the sidelines to chase him out there, but he was so far behind. I mean, Ingold was open. Ingold was open for a big play potentially. But the corner, who looked like he's, in 3 deep coverage for all intents and purposes, if you look at the safety and look at the other corner, they look like they're in a 3 deep coverage or something. The corner sees Ingold running by himself to the sideline, just by himself, and he's like, I think he got nervous. I think he's like, wait, he's got Tyreek Hill running a sort of a curl behind him, and then Alec Ingold run into the shallow in front of him, and he's like, wait, I'm supposed to clamp down, and Ingold is wide open. This is going to be a big play. And meanwhile, Tyreek Hill goes streaking behind him, and the safety sits in the center of the field, doesn't do anything, and so he's just wide open. Like Tyreek Hill is just wide open, and it's crazy. I do think, I looking at the all 22 from the end zone view, I mean, the ball was tipped by Matt Judon. It changed both the spin of the ball and really drastically changed the trajectory of it. And he was chopping down with his hand. I mean, that's what happened. And I think that it's unfortunate because the real thing is, I don't know that this would have been a completion, even if it wasn't tip, because it was a broken play. So, I mean, there's aspects of it that you got to make sure that Tua and Tyreek are actually on the same page with one another, for that. And I'm not sure if they were, because Tyreek kind of, I don't know, the way he ran the route and the way Tua threw the ball, you'd have to be certain that they were actually on him, and you can't, unless it's actually completed, you can't be certain that it was. But Tua had the right idea, which is he looked out toward Ingold at first, and by all means he could have gone there. Like he was open, and it popped open the way that it was designed to. But I think he either saw the broken coverage and decided to hit Tyreek for the bigger gain, or maybe this is very much into his wheelhouse. It's possible that this was something that Tua decided before the play, that he was going to hit Tyreek in between the corner and the safety and use his eyes to try and draw that corner up a little bit further up, which is very much something that Tua does. He doesn't get off his first read very much, but he does use his eyes to try and get that first read open. So I think that, yeah, it was actually a good play for Tua to haul in to play volleyball with that bad snap and then execute, but unfortunately it was chopped down. Overall, I was looking at this game and I was like, there were only 8 drives.
Yeah.
Like eight offensive drives in total. I mean, we were kind of joking about this at the beginning of the game, all of us, when we're chatting about it, and Simon and I are joking about it. I was like, this game's going to be done by 3:00. And then like something else happened. This is like, no, Simon's like, no, it's going to be done at 2:30. and it was speeding. The game was speeding along just because of the way that Miami was playing it, the way the New England was playing it. There were only really 8 drives, which I thought was interesting. And it does have bearing on the overall, what you expect from a point standpoint, what you expect from all that. I thought that New England just looked out of sorts. They looked like they're counting on the wrong people offensively. Mm-hmm. They looked like they didn't necessarily have a game plan that I would have thought that Miami's defense would be susceptible to having, get more defensive backs on the field, considering the injuries to Byron Jones, and then Eric Rowe is sitting out. And then you have Nick Needham, who's been kind of banged up. I would have thought that you'd really want Miami to get more defensive backs on the field, but New England went 50-50, 12 personnel, 2 tight end personnel, and it didn't work. It was dismal. It was absolutely atrocious. Their overall results from 2 tight end personnel. They did make some hay with 3 wide personnel with 11, and so New England. I saw Dan Orlovsky say something about it. He's like, I've never seen a New England team look this unprepared or something like that. And it kind of did look like that. It kind of looked like a bad plan, both offensively and defensively for New England. I questioned before the game whether it was smart to go to Miami and play or practice hard in all of Miami's hot and humid conditions before the game. It might have gassed them even before they got into the game. And I certainly didn't see anything during the game that made me think otherwise. They just were completely flat, lackluster. They had successful plays, and there's no shortage of things to criticize on Miami's defense, even for as great as they played. But just what a dismal outing for New England, I think it was. And it was Miami not playing down to the opponent, because this is New England. And this is a Belichick coach defense, but they left a lot on the field on offense, and frankly, they left a bit on the field on defense too. So we'll see going forward.
Yeah, and I would say, as far as leaving stuff out on the field, I think that there's been this thing that's gone on through training camp, and we talked about it on OnlyFans. You could get on there for $3 a month, by the way. But we've been talking about it on OnlyFans. I've been talking about it all camp and all off season and OTAs and everything that I've seen, how Mike Gesicki can sometimes be a complete afterthought, even in practice. And you saw game 1 where Mike Gesicki really wasn't much part of the offense. But you had something interesting, Chris, and I'll get to you after I ask Simon this. But Simon, where's his fit going forward? Because that was an eye-popping display by Mike Gesicki, where I see a couple of plays where he actually was responsible for blocking people, and he wasn't very good again, but he wasn't involved in the passing game at all. 2 targets, and one of them was a throwaway.
Yeah, I was surprised. It did feel like they were just trying to get the ball to Tyreek Hill as often as was humanly possible.
Mm-hmm.
I will be interested to see what happens as we move forwards. I obviously, Durham Smythe played significantly more. Was it 13 more snaps, I think, than Gesicki. Had the same amount of touches. To be honest, I don't even recall Hunter Long being on the field. I think he was. I think he played.
He was. He got some snaps.
Yeah, Gesicki had obviously just had the one pass, which again, going back to the quarterback, I felt like there was a play in behind him to Tyreek that, maybe just, and it's that kind of second read, third read stuff that you just, felt like it came off or didn't come off his first read, just stayed very tightly to that. I don't think, Chris, I read earlier, and this might be the point that you're about to go to. Did Miami run 6 times for no yards when Gesicki was on the field? Did I get that right? That you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, he was an afterthought in the run game in particular. They had him pass blocking a couple of times, interestingly, but 3 times in the game, and even more strange on 2 of them he did well.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I think New England have excellent safeties in Carl Duggar and Phillips and the like, but what I do think is that it surprised me, given the attention that both New England and I expect other teams coming forwards will pay to Hill and Waddle, that, to me, Gesicki should be catching, he should be putting up Travis Kelce type numbers in terms of, but I don't know. There just seems to be a big disconnect there, and it felt like he was frustrated when he did catch the ball, he sort of slammed the ball into the turf, and felt more like a frustration at the lack of, quality touches he was getting as much as anything else. And that might be part of the problem moving forward this season. There's simply not enough balls to go around. You're trying to feed Tyreek Hill. You've got Jalen Waddle, who's a monster. You've got this two-headed running attack. You've got the tight ends. You've got Cedric Wilson's a good player, you know. So I don't know. I would, again, I mean, I said this 4 or 5 weeks ago. I just wouldn't be surprised to see him move before the trade deadline.
Yeah, especially if they could get something useful for him. You know, if they could get something, and they might need something because they don't know the severity of Austin Jackson's injury right now, and they're going to be playing around with that right tackle spot, I would guess, this week, because I don't know. You know, you don't go from we're going to get more eyes on Austin Jackson's ankle to hey, guess what? He's playing. You know,
Yeah, right.
So I would venture to guess, this is a complete guess, no information on this, that Austin Jackson is probably not available for Sunday, and Greg Little or somebody else will be lining up at right tackle. But you had something interesting as well, Chris, on Mike Gesicki's usefulness in the passing game, even while he's not getting targeted.
Well, I mean, I think he was relegated to almost a decoy role in this game. And so this is not the game where I think that we should be concluding that he's on his way out and going to get traded before the deadline. I think the game where we conclude that would be one where he clearly is more of a part of the game plan, and then he just lets you down. And I think that this game, I mean, because I noted with interest, first off, Simon's right. You know, it seemed like not all the balls, but a lot of it was going to Tyreek Hill. It was just they're going to get him the ball. And Tua called him a cheat code, so it's obviously hard not to get him the ball. But I think I noted that Mike McDaniels said that he was actually a little bit surprised, given the game plan and what they were doing, that Jalen Waddle didn't get more action. Like he thought this was a game where he was expecting Jalen Waddle to get more action than he did. And so, you know, you have all those balls going toward Tyreek Hill, and you have Mike McDaniel thinking that the game plan would have, you know, given a lot of balls to Jalen Waddle too. Well, where's Mike Gesicki and all that? Well, he's not there. And I think that if you look at his pattern of usage, it was very similar to how it ended in preseason, which is to say he was not there at all in 21 personnel, not a single snap. Like, so when the Dolphins went with Alec Ingold as the up back and, you know, had that sort of personnel grouping, Mike Gesicki was not on the field. He was on the field for almost all of the 12 personnel, like 2 tight end looks. So I guess that's encouraging, but that should be assumed. However, those looks were really not productive on either way, running or passing. But he did, and I thought this was interesting. He was on the field for 15 out of the 24 11 personnel snaps, which in his past, you know, Adam Gase had issues even using him in 11 personnel, like as the only tight end on the field. So he was on the field for most of the 11 personnel, the one single tight end, 3 wide receiver looks. And what I think that the Dolphins found as they went through the game is the New England Patriots were defaulting to a dime package every time Miami came out with 3 wide receivers plus Mike Gesicki. And that dime package of New England's was struggling, hard against Miami. Whatever coverages they decided to do. I think a lot of it had to do with Raekwon McMillan being the only linebacker on the field in a lot of those, and his inability to really do anything in coverage. But I mean, they were struggling. Miami was super productive in the passing game, in particular against the New England dime defense. And it got to the point where Mike McDaniel kind of overplayed his hand a little bit and called a screen out of 11 personnel with Mike Gesicki on the field against all those defensive backs. He called a screen to the side to Tyreek Hill. He gained like 17 yards off of it easily gained 17 yards off of it. And I think that's when Bill Belichick put the clamps on that, and he stopped going to dime whenever Gesicki was on the field in 11 personnel. And I think that was sort of the chess match back and forth, because Gesicki ended up effectively just being a decoy. You know, he's on the field, so you're getting dime, and then we're going to take advantage of that. And that could have been accomplished by Tanner Connor probably. who is a wide receiver in college and who runs, around the 4.4 range. So that's probably, and for those of you believing that Gesicki could be traded, that's what you have to be looking at, is like, well, if he's just going to be a decoy in these games, Tanner Connor could have been the same thing. And it's because clearly Gesicki wasn't doing great as a blocker, except for a couple of snaps. Weirdly, in pass protection, he did all right. But yeah, so I think going forward, the game where you have to say, book is shut, it's done with Gesicki, is one where they actually are counting on him to be part of the game plan, and he just lets them down. And we haven't seen that yet, and I'm not ruling it out because chips do seem down for him. But I thought the usage for him probably went about according to plan.
All right, and we're gonna go to break right now with a new sponsor, by the way. Liquid Death is a new sponsor of ours. We're going to go to break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the stars of this game. I want to ask Simon a question about the way our head coach operated and our defensive coordinator operated, which is something that I found interesting as I watched the game. I'm a good tea leaf reader when I watch these games, and I found one thing very, very interesting. But first, a word from Liquid Death. This show is brought to you by Liquid Death. Have you ever been to the grocery store and seen these tall boy cans that look like beer called Liquid Death? Well, it's not beer. It's actually mountain spring water from the Alps, available in still, sparkling, and 3 different flavors. Those 3 flavors? Check these names out. Severed Lime, Mango Chainsaw, Bury It Alive. Liquid Death murders your thirst, and the infinitely recyclable cans are environmentally friendly. Liquid Death also donates 10% of the profits from every can sold to help fight and kill plastic pollution. Go get Liquid Death at your local Publix, the Fresh Market, or Whole Foods Market, or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/3. Write that out, THREE. That's liquiddeath.com/3. Go get Liquid Death. Follow Liquid Death on social media on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. And use the hashtag MurderYourThirst and hashtag Death to Plastic. All right, and we're back. Simon, I noticed one thing while watching this game, and I rewatched it. I watched the condensed version, and then I wanted to watch it to make sure I knew what I saw the first time. But on offense, I wanted to see how our head coach was operating. And sure enough, like the plays are moving from his mouth into the headset right to Tua Tagovailoa. But he was consulting consistently over and over again with John Embry and nobody else. So is it fair to say that John Embry is the one running the personnel side? Like he's running the personnel groupings, and it's a 2-headed monster running the entire offense?
I mean, hard to know without asking him, mate, to be honest. I mean, but it wouldn't surprise me. And Embry's hugely experienced, is completely trusted by McDaniel. So it wouldn't surprise me. And obviously, this is a guy that hasn't called plays before, and now he is not only calling plays, but also being the head coach of a team. So I think just having somebody to keep an eye on things, somebody to keep an eye on the clock, somebody to keep an eye on challenges, somebody to keep an eye on personnel groupings, all of those things I think he absolutely needs, because, we recall the Adam Gage years when, he'd go and sit on the bench and, draw up the next drive, the next plays for the next drive. And I don't think, it's an easy job when you're a coordinator, especially a rookie coordinator and a rookie head coach, to be able to just completely keep on top of all the things that you need to keep on top of. He said in the press conference today that, Tua bailed him out a few times because he was getting calls in late, which I think is really interesting. And that will obviously need to quicken up. It didn't feel like we were, rushing to the line. I mean, there were times, certainly, I watched the Green Bay game yesterday, and, the Packers were coming to the line really late and just getting the ball off. But no, I thought he did a good job. I talked about the offense and how it looked earlier on. There was still, I was disappointed in the run game. I was disappointed in the offensive line. But I like the comments that McDaniel made after the game. I like the comments he made today. He said if we're on the journey we want to be on, that should be the worst game we play all year. And I think that was a great thing to say. He said about Tua, or he said he'd spoken to Tua and said to him, don't be afraid of the things you need to be better at. And again, just really sage advice and you can see in the video that the Dolphins released in their locker room after the game, just how enthused the players are to be around him. Just, all this crazy talk earlier on about the fact that he's 5'6" and, he's like a a pipe cleaner in terms of, you know, how skinny he is. That sort of stuff doesn't matter. And it was ludicrous that it even, you know, became a national point of discussion. He can coach, he can lead men, and I thought he did a really good job yesterday. I thought two of the funniest things, I think, were him locking his car keys out of his Tesla, which was pretty funny. And then I don't know if you guys saw it, but when he ran onto the field to congratulate or to say thank you to Bill Belichick, I think he expected a bit of a chat.
Yeah, and Bill Belichick's like, "Oh, fuck off, guy."
And it was literally just a shake of the hand. And it looked
Although
like
there's some backstory there. There's some backstory there that I guess it's speculated on by some of the New England media that Bill Belichick was rather gruff and had told a lot of people on the sideline that he didn't appreciate the play call with 1 minute left where Tua rolled out to his left. He thinks that they were trying to get a certain look to fool them into a certain coverage to try to sneak a touchdown past them, which he would have thought was running up the score and completely unnecessary. And I tend to agree with him, but that's a hell of a thing for him, of all people, to say. You know what I mean? After the beatdowns he's laid on other teams the last 20 years. You know, so maybe it was something like that. Like, you know, hey,
it was a stupid call, by the way.
It was a stupid call. No, if you watch the play, I watched it again. They absolutely tried to sneak Trent Sherfield past the defense. The Patriots just didn't bite. And then Tua got caught like, shit, like what's going on? You know, like, what do I do now? Well, what you should have done, Tua, is just run out of bounds and get the first down. You're right there.
Or no, slide.
Slide. But they absolutely
slide.
tried to fool them to try to sneak a touchdown past them with a minute left. You know, that's the only black mark on McDaniels' day. I don't think that was completely necessary, even though you know, Belichick
for 3:30 game he called a max protect with 2-man route combination. You know, the 2-man route combination that Tyreek and Waddle keep running in training camp and preseason that keeps producing the big bombs to Tyreek. The 65-yarder in training camp, the big one on the against the Eagles. You know, they ran that play with 3:30 left in the game. Too. And so like it was hyper aggressive. And
so maybe, you know, remember Bill Belichick watches football a different way than we do, you know, like we look at him like, okay, Tua's doing something stupid. No, he's looking at like, these assholes are trying to fool me to try to sneak a touchdown past my defense here. You know, but all right, let's move on to our 3 stars of the games. I'll go first. Kader Kohu. Like, hey man, we got sold this guy hard in as soon as they signed him, actually. And then we got, you know, I got him sold very hard to me while I was in Tampa. And then when I watched him, I was like, okay, there's something here. Well, there's enough there that they made Noah Benogany inactive. Kader Kohu played plenty and played very well, I thought. My second star has to be Tyreek Hill, as advertised, 8 catches, 96 yards. Yeah, that's a very productive day. He was essentially the entire offense for most of the day. And my last star is going to be Josh Boyer. There was so much speculation of, you know, what he could or could not do, whose defense that actually was last year, who actually was calling the plays. I thought he was pretty smart in how he handled Mac Jones. Mac Jones last year proved, in my opinion, that he could really identify blitzes. He could move the ball hot if he has to and be successful against our defense as they blitz. I think he mixed it up perfectly, and it seemed to work. And Mac Jones looked as bad as he has in the 3 games. I thought he looked all right in game 2 last year against us, and I thought he looked okay in game 1 last year. He looked absolutely horrible out there on Sunday. So Josh Boyer gets my 3rd star of the game. Simon?
I agree with you on Kohu. I thought he was excellent. I thought just, you know, where he needs to be, 18 snaps he played on defense, big play on special teams, big hit. And look, I know the Patriots lack a little bit of speed, certainly out wide, Tyquan Thornton being out. But, you know, Nick Needham, I thought played really well as well. Just we really didn't, apart from the first drive and apart from the deep ball to Kendrick Bourne in the 4th quarter down the left sideline, we really didn't give up anything in the pass game. So yeah, Kohu I thought played really well. Xavier Howard just, you know, completely on lockdown, just doing what you expect a big time, big play cornerback to do, which was, you know, knock the ball up in the air. I actually thought he should have been called for the interception play and not been called for the illegal hands downfield, where he knocked the ball away out of Parker's hands, which should have forced a punt, and they actually ended up scoring on that drive. I thought that was a pretty bad call. But, just absolute lockdown corner again. Just, he's the best player on the team by a country mile. And then I thought Brandon Jones had a really, really good game. He's oft criticised for his ability or otherwise in the past game, but he's also the best blitzing defensive back in the NFL. And I think he's probably, depending on where you or how you categorize Micah Parsons' pass rush, he's potentially the best blitzing defender in the NFL. I think he had 6 sacks last year. The disguise on the forced fumble for the Melvin Ingram touchdown was superb in terms of, just the way he lined up, the way he sort of crouched and hid a little bit when he was stepping towards the line. Nobody saw him. Trent Brown didn't see him. Mac Jones didn't see him. Perfect timing, perfect to knock the ball away. He could have had an interception on the very next play, actually. I just thought generally his run fits were excellent. His run support was really good. He's just a really good player in terms of, doing the things that he does well. He maximizes his ability at. You don't want him matched up one-on-one in coverage, even though, Chris and I talked about how he played against LSU in one-on-one coverage in the slot when he was back in college and played really well when Joe Burrow was a quarterback. But I think generally you kind of want to avoid having him in those positions. But in terms of run fits, in terms of running the alley, in terms of blitzing the quarterback, I think I thought he had a superb game.
Yeah, and by the way, the all-time record for sacks in a season by a defensive back. Do you know it, Simon, off the top of your head?
I don't.
Jamal Adams, 2020. It was 9.5 sacks. Brandon Jones is going to threaten that this year, I think. He's going to get plenty of opportunities. All right, Chris, your stars.
Well, I am going to actually go with Brandon Jones on defense. First off, Cater Coho and all the guys that you've mentioned, Josh Boyer, Kuda. I said this on Twitter. He needed to step out of Brian Flores' shadow, and in some ways, and what a way to do that in the first game without Flores as a defensive coordinator. Really showed that this is his defense, and that this, he is him, not necessarily Brian Flores holding the strings. But and Cato Coho, for the limited time that he was out there, did an immense job. But Brandon Jones with that sack fumble, I mean, he made one of the plays that I think made the game, and that the way that he hid and then got in there on the sack, and then immediately punched the football out with his, with the backhand as he got there. I mean, it wasn't like he tackled him and then kind of ripped it out. Like he got there and punched it out immediately. And that was why there was a touchdown off of it. I thought Melvin
on that play, if you watch it, Melvin Ingram with the pinch rush, did you see what he did? He kind of held up Trent Brown. It was beautiful. And Trent Brown, when he notices it, he's like, oh shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
why is this guy just standing here?
And not that Trent Brown would have gotten out there
anyway,
because he's too slow footed. He's too big. But I think that Melvin Ingram was the other guy on defense that I would isolate here or spotlight here, because with Andrew Van Ginkel having the appendix surgery, he had to have his snaps dialed down, and Mike McDaniel made it clear that was the reason his snaps were dialed down. That they're having to bring him along slowly coming back from that. Melvin Ingram was out there for like 31 snaps, and it wasn't necessarily all pass rush either. There was coverage. He did a good job in coverage. He did a good job against the run. He showed the savvy. If anything, it was everything but pass rush that he was really doing well. We know that he can pass rush really well, and that he's a savvy pass rusher. But yeah, he did a fantastic job on defense. I think Simon brought up a good point about Xavier too, because he was absolutely locked down, and the Patriots were counting on Devontae Parker, and Xavier Howard made it so that they couldn't. And there's something to be said for that. But on offense, the guy that I wanted to go with obviously is Tyreek Hill, because people are saying, oh, duh, like Tyreek Hill, of course we knew he was good. Well, okay, But how often have we seen teams, including the Miami Dolphins, sign the big wide receiver, and then you get through a game and you're like, where was he? You know, like what he didn't really do much out there, like Mike Wallace or something like that. Like, you know, yeah, it was okay. You know,
poor Allen Robinson.
Well, yeah, we were just talking about that before on the previous, you know, and look at Kenny Golladay up in New York, huge contract that he got, and where is he? You know, this happens a lot. This happens. You sign the big wide receiver, and then you get him, and it's like, you know, yeah, it was okay. This was more than okay with Tyreek Hill. Okay, he was that guy. You know, when out there, he was, as Tua said, a cheat code. It was, you know, there was a 3rd and 5 where Tua tried to hit him in man coverage on an out-breaking route, and you know he was well covered, and it was to the point where that one time he was well covered, I was just shocked. I was just, really, you know, because he was uncoverable out there. He's too quick. He makes too many moves and too quick of a succession. And it was just, I mean, he was dominant on the offensive side of the ball. And so if he's not getting the game ball on offense, I don't know who the hell is. So yeah, those are my 3: Tyreek, Melvin, and Brandon Jones.
All right. That's going to do it. And the next time we talk to you, we'll be talking about Ravens, Dolphins, and week 2. But till then.
Thanks for listening to 3 Yards Per Carry. You can subscribe via iTunes, on Podbean, or your usual podcast provider.
Now through July 20th, join Planet Fitness for $1 down and feel fit-tacular with tons of equipment in the judgment-free zone. Join at planetfitness.com or in club. $1 down, $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Hurry, deal ends July 20th. See club for details.
Why do we love Miro?
Well, Miro's visual collaboration platform lets our team work together in real time anywhere.
Absolutely. We can organize ideas, visualize plans, create flowcharts, run engaging workshops, you name it. Really, Miro's Canvas has a template to get us started on any project.
And video meetings are just way more productive when we can show our team ideas on a Miro board.
Honestly, working remotely was nightmarish for us because we felt disconnected. But Miro's online whiteboard gets everyone on the same page. Also, we can use our other favorite tools with Miro. It's kind of like Miro is the
center of our work universe.
I know that sounds crazy, but yeah, it's how we do big things.
Ready to see why our team uses Miro to work together?
Getting started is so easy. Sign up today at Miro.com. That's Miro.com.